Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's garden video. So this week I really started seeing that strawberries and peas are just coming in like crazy. So you're going to see quite a bit of me harvesting strawberries and peas because that's what's happening this week. So you saw me at first going down and picking out some strawberries, and then you see those peas, which are huge, which I go and pick pretty much every day. And it's pretty exciting because I love both of those items. And you also see me here going and picking some broccoli. So my broccoli I planted at the beginning of the year, maybe even last year, I forget. But it produces these fairly smaller heads, but a lot of them, and I harvest them all the time and I saute them up and eat them. But here's kind of what a typical day looks like with strawberries for me. I also had a bunch of basil that was ready to be planted out, and again, I just let these things get really small, but enough that they have a little bit of a root system before I put them in the ground. So you see me here putting in some new baby basil in with the other basil that's already in the ground. So now at this point, all of my basil is in the ground. And then as I was walking around the garden, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm going to be, if I'm not already, going to be harvesting things. And then what ends up happening when you harvest is that you pull the plant out because it's kind of done. So I better get my succession planting started so that my little seedlings are ready to go in the ground when I pull things out. So first thing last week, I started some more cauliflower, I started some more spinach, I started some more lettuce, I started some peas, I started a bunch of things. And a lot of people may question, well, why would you grow spinach midsummer? It's not really going to do well, it's going to bolt. Or why would you grow lettuce or even start cauliflower? And here's my philosophy, honestly. It's like, I'm going to start it, I'm going to stick it in the ground, and I see what I can get. The next day, I went into the greenhouse and I had kind of realized that I had forgotten about these. These are kale seed pods that I had overwintered. My one very skimpy little kale, I left it in the ground. If you guys watched earlier videos from the year, you saw it kind of in flower quite a bit. I left it there. Every week I said, oh, I'm going to pull that out, I'm going to pull that out. And it never did. But by not pulling it out, what ended up happening was it produced a lot of seed pods. And I thought, I like keeping seeds, and it's one of the things I'm experimenting with. So I pulled a bunch of the seed pods off, left them in a greenhouse, just sort of let them dry out. And then it was really to the point where they were pretty brittle and dry. So I cracked one open to see how the seeds were looking. And you can see here, they kind of split apart. And then it's hard to see, but there's little tiny seeds in there. They kind of look like a pea, like a sweet pea, but just a lot smaller version of that. And so I pretty much spent time going through each one of these pods and cracking them open and pulling as many seeds out as I could because, I like growing things and then collecting my own seeds. It just, it saves money. It's very easy to do. So here's me collecting the seeds from my kale plant. And at the end, I ended up getting quite a few seeds. Again, I said you're going to see a lot of me repeating things and doing things over and over again. So daily I'm out harvesting strawberries, and here you see me harvesting some strawberries. But one of the things that really started happening, which is so annoying, is you can see that like bent down leaf path that kind of curves like an S through there. There is a possum or something that goes to my strawberries every day and eats a bunch of them. So I'm actually pulling out strawberries a little bit pink versus red just so that I get some, because that stupid thing is in there every day getting them. But here you see me also harvesting some peas because, again, every day I'm out there, and you have to go out there every day because it's such an overloaded bush with vegetables, which is great. I noticed that the bottom leaves of my tomatoes were also starting to curl a little bit. I don't really care about that. I know it might mean that they're not doing great or whatever, but what I like to do is kind of pull those bottom leaves up off the ground, give it a little more air circulation under there, and just kind of prop my tomatoes up. It's really just, I'm waiting for them to grow, but they're looking good. And then later I was walking around and I looked at my stem lettuce, and this is a variety of lettuce that my friend Justin gave me, and I'd never grown it before. And apparently what you're supposed to do is let the, kind of get ready to go to seed like this is doing, and then you harvest it, and then you actually eat the stem. And I thought that sounded interesting and weird because, you're eating the lettuce leaves along the way. Do not eat the lettuce leaves once they start to flower because, my gosh, are they bitter. But here's sort of the instructions that he gave me about how to prepare it, where you peel the outside, saute, cut it into ribbons, salt it, and saute it up. And I have to say, it is wonderful. The next day I noticed that some of my cauliflower and plants that I'm doing for succession planting were getting big enough that I wanted to pluck them out and get them in their own seed pod, so you see me doing that there. And then again, this is sort of me looking through the strawberries and just, I mean, they're there, they're pink, they're just not great because you can sort of see that this animal, and again, I'm claiming possum, I'm not sure what it is, but continues to go through and eat the strawberries. Also, here's just kind of more of a close look at my peas, and I said, I have to pick them every day because I just picked them yesterday, and they're just full of pea pods, which is awesome because, like I said, I don't think I can have too many this time of year. And this is kind of like maybe a little daily picking of each of these produce. I get a pile of strawberries and a pile of peas. The next day I didn't show this because again I've been showing it every day, but here's just another harvest. I did end up harvesting the rest of the stem lettuce and prepared it, and again it's wonderful. I've had it in stir fries, I've had it in salads. It's recommended lettuce for people. I also went out and I kind of looked at my garlic, and what you're supposed to do for garlic when you harvest it, and I'm not good at this, I don't know, is look at the bottom leaves. This is hardneck garlic, and if the bottom 3 or 4 leaves have started to turn brown, it means that it's about time to harvest, or so I'm told. So I pulled one out and saw, well, how does the clove look? And the clove actually looks pretty good. So I decided to pull about half of the garlic out of the bed, and I'm going to let the other garlic go for maybe another week or 2. Maybe they'll get bigger, I'm not sure. It's a test. Everything's always a test for me. So I pulled about half of it out, and what you do is you let it dry out in a cool, dry area for a couple weeks, and then it's pretty much ready to go for the rest of the season. We eat a lot of garlic, so I think this will be perfect, but here's sort of the pile that I pulled out from that day. And here we are at today. This is my row of cauliflower. Some of it doing great, some of it not so great. I've got more started, but they were all planted at the same time. Here's a look at my strawberry patch, which again, you can kind of see the remnants of the animal going through there. And then we passed by my cabbage row, some chard, and then here's the rest of my lettuce, which is getting ready to bolt. So that's why I'm glad I started some new lettuce this week. There are my tomatoes, kind of not doing much at this point in time, but that's fine. And here are my peas. I have a lot in the ground, and my gosh, they are huge. They're super tall. They're taller than me, and I'm 6'6", so they're big. And then I have some gladiolas at the end of that row. This is a look at my corn and my cucumbers on the top. My corn's all coming in nice. And then at the end of my corn, I have a bunch of lilies. I have a cut flower section of my garden. Here's a look at my carrots. They're all coming in fine. I didn't really thin them, so we'll see how that goes. This is my potatoes, and in the front I have osettes, which aren't doing as good as the golds behind them, but I'm sure I'll get a decent yield. And then here's a look at my cilantro next to my tomatoes. I didn't have a space for them in the garden, so I just kind of planted them right next to the tomatoes. And they're all, they're small, but they're coming in just fine. Here's a look at my onions, all doing really well. And the onions that I planted that were from last year, which I want to go to seed, are producing seed heads. So that's exciting for me. Here's a look at some sunflowers in the foreground, and here's my raspberries. And I just passed a bunch of raspberries that I cut to the ground, and the ones that I didn't cut to the ground are producing a ton of berries. So I think I'll have like this nice summer harvest, and then I'll have a fall harvest. This is a look at the fava beans. I don't love growing fava beans because they're very difficult to harvest and prepare, but we enjoy eating them, so I grow them, and the pods are coming in nicely. There's a look at my basil and garlic in the background. Here's a look at the crazy out of control beets that I'm letting go to seed because I wanted to try to get seeds from this beets, and my gosh, I am so ready for this to be at seed and done. Here's a look at the other beets that are in the ground that are new that I planted this spring. They're getting ready to harvest. There's some spinach that I just passed, and my zucchini has its first flower, so I'm excited about that. There's a pretty sad looking butternut squash at the end of my blackberry row. I have marionberry, boysenberry, and another variety, and another squash which isn't doing well. This is my asparagus bed and some sunflowers on the edge there, and actually I planted 2 squash at the end of that too because I want to try to make sure I get some butternut squash. But my asparagus continues to pop up new heads, so I'm excited about that. Here's another look at my cucumber row, which again, they're all doing fine. And then my beans, most of these are pole beans, so they'll start running up those structures. They haven't quite done it yet, but the little tendrils are coming out. Here's a look at my 2 bell peppers I planted where my garlic was. And here's a quick look at my grapes. They're doing fine. They're, nothing exciting. And a look at the greenhouse. So the things I planted at the beginning of the week, some of the beets are actually already germinating. They germinated really fast. Nothing else is yet, but that's okay. It's still early. And here's a look at some of the stuff I started a week or 2 ago. This is my cauliflower and some cabbage and stuff that's going to be succession planting for the stuff coming out of the garden. But I thought I'd just leave you with a little view of some clouds going over the view from a hike I took this weekend.